Hello from San Antonio, Texas. My name is Julie Zucker, and I'm the Education Coordinator for the Holocaust Memorial Museum of San Antonio. And I'm doing a series of book talks that I'm recording and posting online so that teachers and students can learn about new books that are about the Holocaust for different age levels. And I'd like to point you to our website, HMMSA.org. If you click on Museum Resources and then For Educators, you will find a virtual tour of our museum there, as well as many other resources that we're offering right now for teachers and students. The first book that I'd like to feature is called White Bird, and it is by R.J. Palacio. She's the same person who wrote Wonder, and you can see it right there. I got the pleasure of meeting her, and she recommends this book for 4th grade up to maybe 7th, 8th. However, I really felt that because of the high interest level, almost anyone could read and enjoy it. I'm an adult and I read and enjoyed this book. So I think high school students would. It would be above their grade level in reading, usually. However, it's a very high interest level book. Let's look at some of the text features. We have the cover here. We have a girl in a bluebonnet field. This is the back cover. I'd like to read some of it to you. R.J. Palacio, I'm reading this right here, makes her graphic novel debut with an unforgettable story about the power of kindness and unrelenting courage in a time of war. To the millions of readers who fell in love with R.J. Palacio's Wonder, Julian is best known as Augie Pullman's classroom bully. White Bird reveals a new side to Julian's story as he discovers the moving and powerful tale of his grandmother, who was hidden from the Nazis as a young Jewish girl in occupied France during World War II. As Grand-mère, that's French for grandmother, tells Julian, quote, "It always takes courage to be kind, but in those days, such kindness could cost you everything," end quote. Includes an afterword by award-winning author and book critic Ruth Franklin, and extensive resources for readers who want to learn more about the time period. My Jewish Learning is a great place to learn about Judaism because some of our readers aren't really aware that Judaism is a religion that's about 6,000 years old, and it's the foundation of Christianity and to some degree Islam. Here's our first page here. It starts in modern day. I'm going to read a few chapters to you, about 20 pages. And after I read a page, I'm going to hold it up to the camera. And that's a moment when you can pause and look at it for yourself, look at the pictures carefully, read the words for yourself, and then I'll move on. I'll give it about 5 to 10 seconds per pause. Present day. Julian, no more video games. Do your homework. This is my homework. I'm FaceTiming Grand-mère from my humanities project. Bring, bring. Allez, allez. Hey, Grand-mère. Allez, allez. Grand-mère, you have to look into the phone and put your glasses on. Oh, there you are. I see you. Allez, mon cher, how are you? How is the new school? It's okay. I like it. I mean, I miss Beecher Prep and all, but I still feel really bad about, well, you know. And he's thinking about this time when he said, "Hey, freak," to someone. And he says, "Some of the stuff I did. Sometimes I wish I could go back in time or have a do-over, you know?" Oh, yes, mon cher. We all have those kinds of regrets. Just remember, we are not defined by our mistakes, but by what we do after we've learned from them. Okay? Okay, Grand-mère. Thanks. I'm actually calling you today because of school. I have a project for my humanities class. I'm supposed to write an essay about someone I know, and I want my essay to be about you, Grand-mère. Me? I'm so flattered. You, when you were a little girl during the war. I see. I want to write about you and Torteau, Grandmère. I know you told me the story before, but this time I'm going to record you. Oh, she starts putting her hand on her head. And maybe you can give me more details. If you would like to pause, take a moment to pause and look at the book. Move on. Oh, Julian, it's so hard for me to talk about these things. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. It's okay, we don't have to... No, I should talk about it, mon cher, even if it is hard. In fact, because it is hard. Because your generation needs to know these things. All right, I will tell you the story, Julian. The whole story. Even the parts I have never told anyone before. Are you sure, Grandmère? Yes, mon cher, I am sure. Because, Julian, those were dark times, but what stayed with me the most is not the darkness, but the light. This is what I have held on to all these years, and that is the story I want to share with you. So that intro is over, and I would like you to think about, as I read the next two sections, and including this first part, make some text connections. Text to self, meaning something you've experienced. Text to text, how is this like some other form of text, a book, a poem, a movie, anything? And then text to world. Can you make a connection with something that's happening today or during history in real life? This is historical fiction, by the way, and that means that this is a story that is, I realize I didn't pause on that last part, so I'll talk while I pause. And historical fiction means it's characters that did not exist, but the events that happened did. So we're going to learn a little bit about France and what happened there in this next part. And everything that happened to France with the Nazis in World War II, that part is real. Chapter 1. Once upon a time. How beautiful. She lived in a beautiful little town. Once upon a time is how most fairy tales begin. That is how I will start my story too, because my life truly began as a fairy tale. I'll put this up one more time. 1930s, France. Once upon a time, I was a little girl named Sarah Bloom who lived in a small village in France. I had two beautiful parents who showered me with love and affection. My papa, Max, was a renowned surgeon. People came from all over to consult him. My maman, Rose, was a math teacher. She was one of the first women in our village to graduate with an advanced degree in mathematics. We lived very comfortably in a large flat with lovely furniture in a good neighborhood. I had pretty clothes and many toys. I admit I was a little bit spoiled. My village, Aubergeville-au-Bois, now please pardon my French, it's the wrong pronunciation and I know that, was in the Marguerite Mountains. It was surrounded by a very ancient forest called the Mer Nuit. In the winter, the Mer Nuit was dark and very scary. There were many legends going back centuries about giant wolves that roamed the woods. They came and went with the fog. In the spring, however, when the leaves filled the trees again and the birds returned to nest, the forest came alive. Then, in early May, the most wondrous thing happened. Pause if you would like to keep looking and reading. This is beautiful. I want to show you right away. So pretty. The bluebells would come into bloom. The entire forest floor would turn bright blue and violet. It is not only it not only looked magical, it was magical, since bluebells were not usually found as far south as we were. And yet, here they bloomed. Truly, it was like a fairy tale in every way. On the weekends when the bluebells bloomed, my parents and I would have a picnic at the edge of the woods. It was a beautiful and fragrant. I felt like a princess among the fairy flowers. Look at our little girl, Max. She's getting so big. She's still our little bird, Rose. Oh, Papa, can you make me fly? Of course. How high will you fly? As high as the sky. And how fast will you go? As fast as a crow. Then close your eyes. Look. Time to fly, time to rise. Yes, in those days I was happy and carefree as a bird, but the world was changing. Look at her flying high in the sky. That's how she feels, as free as a bird. Chapter 2. This is our last chapter. Have you thought of a text to self, text to text, or text to world connection yet? France surrendered to Germany in June 1940. As a result, the country was split into two zones, the occupied zone and the free zone. Here it has a lot of newspaper covers that show the fall of France to the Nazis. I'd like to show you this map as close as I can get here. Pause if you can on this map. It's very important. You can see Free France and Occupied France. Notice where she's got the pencil and it is circling right here. Okay, that's very important. Summer 1940. I remember Papa circling Aubervilliers-aux-Bois on a map and saying how lucky we were not to live in the occupied zone. Our lives could continue as normal. I could ride my scooter to school every day, same as always. I could walk to the market with my friends after school, same as always. My parents and I could go to the cinema on the weekends, same as always. I could still ride my bicycle to the edge of the Mernouilles, same as always. All these things together gave the illusion of normalcy, but things were not normal, of course. Nothing was really normal anymore. Not if you were Jewish, like us. And there's someone saying Heil Hitler in the street. Remember, if you don't know what Judaism is, there's a great explanation on myjewishlearning.org, as well as many other. Chabad.org has a good one too. That's Chabad. It's just a religion, and yet they were being blamed for things that were happening with no evidence whatsoever. A lot of times unfair things happen to minorities or small groups within a larger society. I'm going to read the next page, okay? That part was not in the book. The illusion of normalcy did not last very long anyway. The Vichy government passed a series of anti-Jewish laws. They banned Jews from going to certain public places. They kept lists of Jewish people and where they lived. I wonder what they would do with those lists. If you know about the Holocaust and you watch our virtual tour at HMMSA.org, you can find out what happened to them. They stamped the word juif or juive on our identity cards. That means Jew or Jewish person. They would not let Jews work in certain jobs. Maman lost her job at the university. There began a very systemized campaign of anti-Jewish propaganda, blaming Jews for all the troubles in France. Posters, movies, and even programs on the radio sought to dehumanize us, to turn us into hideous stereotypes. Summer 1942. In the occupied zone, Jews were forced to wear yellow stars on their clothing. If you notice right here, they have a picture of a man They would just take a piece of cloth and sew it onto their clothing. Papa's sister, who lived in Paris with her husband and son, sent us a letter. They wanted to flee to the free zone, but we did not hear back from them until after July 1942. This was when the roundup of their town took place, Vel de Vive. Over 13,000 people of the Jewish faith, including 9,000 children, were arrested and held inside a stadium in Paris. The conditions were horrible. No food or water. Families were separated. Then they were put on trains and deported. Some were sent to internment camps in France. Most ended up in concentration camps in the East. On this page you can think of probably many connections. Okay. Press pause if you want to watch more or read closer. Fall 1942. Compared to what was happening in the occupied zone, things did not seem so bad for me in Aubervilliers-aux-Bois, even after the Germans occupied the free zone in November. Sure, I could not go into some shops with my friends, but I got used to it. To be truthful, it was easier for me not to think about all the restrictions placed upon us. I was still desperately trying to hold on to a sense of normalcy. I was still trying to hold on to my fairy tale life. The sign right here, it says Jews not permitted here. Does that remind you of anything in history? Or perhaps current day? I'm going to stop here. I want you to get a little preview of chapter 3. If we get a lot of response to this video, I can read a little bit more, but due to copyright, I can't read the entire thing as I would like to. However, teachers, parents, students, I would welcome your feedback. I'll post a couple of links with this, and I hope you enjoyed this book talk and preview. Have a great day.